he's just had a rough time coming back. That's about
Yeah.
it. And I reach out to him all the time and tell him that everybody.
What happened next would end up costing a record label millions, destroying a metal community friendship forever, and making fellow musicians swear they'd rather open for a garage band than work with Dave Mustaine again. From studio meltdowns to revenge solos, this is the untold story of why Tom Araya and other metal legends refused to work with Dave Mustaine. Dave Mustaine was born on September 13, 1961, in La Mesa, California. His full name was David Scott Mustaine, and he didn't have an easy childhood. Growing up in a broken home with an abusive, alcoholic father, Mustaine found his escape in music. By age 17, he was already playing in local bands, teaching himself guitar techniques that would later define thrash metal. Even as a teenager, his talent was unmistakable. His fingers moved across the fretboard with speed and precision that made other young guitarists stop and stare. While school wasn't always his focus, music definitely was. He spent hours practicing guitar, studying the techniques of hard rock guitarists like Jimmy Page and Ritchie Blackmore. By his late teens, he had developed a distinctive playing style characterized by lightning-fast alternate picking and complex, aggressive riff. This technical proficiency soon caught the attention of the emerging metal scene in California. In 1981, Mustaine's life changed when he joined a new band called Metallica. Lars Ulrich and James Hetfield had placed an ad in a local paper looking for a lead guitarist. Mustaine showed up to the audition with his guitar and no amplifier. According to band lore, he plugged into Hetfield's amp, played a series of solos that left the room speechless, and was immediately invited to join. During his time with Metallica, Mustaine co-wrote several songs that would become metal classics, including The Four Horsemen, originally called The Mechanics, Jump in the Fire, and parts of Metal Militia. His aggressive playing style and intense personality helped shape Metallica's early sound, pushing them toward what would eventually be known as thrash metal. However, Mustaine's tenure with Metallica was both volatile and short-lived. His struggles with alcohol and drugs, combined with a confrontational personality, created tension within the band. The breaking point came in April 1983 when Metallica was in New York preparing to record their debut album Kill 'Em All. After a series of incidents, including a physical altercation with Hetfield, Mustaine was fired from the band. He was woken up one morning, given a bus ticket back to California, and told his services were no longer needed. This dismissal left Mustaine bitter and determined to create something that would outshine his former bandmate. The bus ride from New York to California became legendary in metal circles. It was during this journey that Mustaine reportedly began formulating plans for a new band that would play music even faster and more technical than Metallica. By late 1983, Mustaine had formed Megadeth with bassist David Ellefson. The name itself was a statement derived from Megadeth, a military term for 1 million deaths by nuclear explosion. From the beginning, Mustaine made it clear that Megadeth wasn't just another metal band, it was a vehicle for his revenge against Metallica. Tom Araya, born on June 6, 1961, in Vina del Mar, Chile, had his own path to metal stardom. His family immigrated to the United States when he was 5, settling in Southgate, California. Unlike Mustaine, Araya came from a stable, hard-working family. His father worked at a leather tanning factory, and both parents emphasized the importance of education and hard work. Araya's entry into music came through his older brother, who played guitar and introduced Tom to bands like Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin. Initially playing bass to accompany his brother, Araya quickly developed a passion for heavy music. While working as a respiratory therapist, a career he maintained even during Slayer's early years, Araya joined forces with Kerry King and Jeff Hanneman to form Slayer in 1981. By 1986, both Megadeth and Slayer had established themselves as pioneering forces in thrash metal. Slayer's album Rain in Blood, produced by Rick Rubin, was revolutionizing the genre with its unprecedented speed and intensity. Meanwhile, Megadeth had released Peace Cells. But Who's Buying? Showcasing Mustaine's technical prowess and songwriting skills. The thrash metal scene, though competitive, was also collaborative. Bands often shared stages, influenced each other's music, and maintained friendships despite professional rivalries. This spirit of camaraderie led to discussions about potential collaborations between various thrash bands, including the idea of a split release or joint tour featuring Slayer and Megadeth. In late 1986, executives from both Combat Records, Megadeth's label, and Def Jam, Slayer's label, arranged a meeting at a Los Angeles recording studio. The proposed collaboration was ambitious: a split EP featuring new tracks from both bands, followed by a co-headlining tour across North America. For fans, this would have been the ultimate thrash experience. For the labels, it represented significant commercial potential. The meeting was scheduled for 1 p.m. on a Wednesday. Araya, Kerry King, Jeff Hanneman, and Dave Lombardo from Slayer arrived on time, as did the label representatives and studio engineers. Ellefson from Megadeth also showed up promptly, apologetically explaining that Mustaine was on his way. Hours passed. Phone calls went unanswered. The Slayer members, known for their professionalism despite their aggressive music, waited patiently at first, then with growing frustration. Studio time was expensive and the clock was ticking. When Mustaine finally arrived shortly after 4 p.m., it was immediately clear he was intoxicated. According to multiple witnesses, he stumbled into the control room, interrupted a conversation between Araya and a producer, and launched into a rambling critique of Slayer's production Sound on Rain in Blood. The tension in the room was palpable. King, already known for his directness, responded with a comment about Megadeth's recent performances. Witnesses recall King saying something to the effect of, "At least we can play our songs live without screwing them up." This seemingly offhand remark touched a nerve with Mustaine. What happened next has become infamous in metal circles. Mustaine spotted Kerry King's custom BC Rich Warlock guitar, a distinctive instrument with a jagged body design that had become part of King's signature look. This wasn't just any guitar. It was a custom-built piece with specific modifications for King's playing style, valued at several $1,000s. In a moment of rage, Mustaine grabbed the guitar from its stand, shouted something, witnesses later couldn't agree on the exact wording, and smashed it against a nearby amplifier. The neck cracked, the body splintered, and pieces of the guitar scattered across the studio floor. The room fell silent, except for the sound of the broken guitar parts settling on the floor. Then chaos erupted. King lunged toward Mustaine but was held back by Lombardo and Hanneman. Araya, typically the most level-headed member of Slayer, stepped between the parties, trying to defuse the situation. Ellefson, mortified by his bandmates' behavior, attempted to apologize, but the damage, both to the guitar and to any potential for collaboration, was irreparable. Label executives quickly ended the meeting, escorting the still furious King from the room, while Araya stayed behind to assess the situation. In a 2010 interview that has since become legendary among metal fans, Araya recounted the aftermath. It wasn't even about the guitar, though Kerry was furious about that for years. You can replace instrument. It was the disrespect, to Kerry, to all of us, to the people who had set up the meeting, to the fans who would have loved what we could have created together. That's what couldn't be fixed. The fallout from the incident was swift and far-reaching. The planned collaboration was immediately cancelled. Combat Records contemplated legal action against Mustaine for jeopardizing the deal, but ultimately decided against it, fearing negative publicity. Def Jam's Rick Rubin, who had championed the collaboration, was reportedly so disappointed that he vowed never to work with Megadeth. The financial impact was substantial. Industry insiders estimated that the cancelled collaboration and tour represented potential lost revenue of $2 to $3 million, a significant sum in mid-1980s music industry terms. More damaging was the effect on Megadeth's reputation within the tight-knit metal community. Word of the incident spread quickly through the music industry. Other bands became hesitant to share bills with Megadeth, fearing similar unpredictable behavior. Promoters, concerned about the reliability of shows, sometimes required additional guarantees or deposits when booking the band. For Slayer, the incident strengthened their bonds with other thrash bands. Araya, King, Hanneman, and Lombardo maintained close relationships with members of Metallica, Anthrax, and Exodus. These connections would later facilitate collaborations like the Clash of the Titans tour in 1990 and 1991, which notably did not include Megadeth on its European leg. Throughout the late 1980s, Mustaine's reputation as difficult to work with continued to follow him. Despite Megadeth's growing commercial success with albums like So Far, So Good, So What, 1988, and Rust in Peace, 1990, many in the music industry kept their distance from frontman Dave Mustaine. The divide between Megadeth and other thrash bands became especially clear in 1991 during the legendary Clash of the Titans tour, which featured Slayer, Anthrax, and Metallica. Though Megadeth was eventually added to the North American leg of the tour, interactions between the bands were strained. Slayer guitarist Kerry King, known for his bluntness, famously said he'd rather open for a garage band than share a stage with Mustaine, a quote that only deepened the public perception of an ongoing feud. The tension wasn't just professional. Personal animosity between Mustaine and members of Slayer, particularly Tom Araya and King, lingered for years. The bands were often scheduled on different days at festivals, and backstage encounters were cold and brief. Araya, though less vocal than King, kept his distance and spoke only sparingly about the situation, attributing the difficulty to differing approaches to music and professionalism. Meanwhile, Mustaine's battles with addiction during the late 80s and early 90s fueled erratic behavior and constant lineup changes within Megadeth. The story might have ended as just another rock feud, but both parties evolved in the decades that followed. The rise of grunge in the mid-90s changed the metal scene, prompting Megadeth to explore more radio-friendly sounds in albums like Countdown to Extinction, 1992, and Euthanasia, 1994, while Slayer stayed true to their thrash root. In 2002, Mustaine suffered a serious arm injury that nearly ended his career. During recovery, he embraced sobriety and Christianity, gaining a new perspective on past conflict. Araya, too, dealt with physical setbacks, including neck surgery in 2010, prompting reflection on his legacy. A turning point came at the 2004 Download Festival in England when members of both bands were seen conversing backstage, marking their first civil interaction in nearly 20 years. A bigger moment arrived in 2010 with the announcement of the Big Four concerts, uniting Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth, and Anthrax for the first time. While behind-the-scenes relations remained professional rather than friendly, the mere collaboration was historic, culminating in a massive show at Yankee Stadium. Later interviews showed growth. Araya acknowledged that though he and Mustaine would never be close, he respected Dave's perseverance. Mustaine, in turn, took accountability for his past, attributing much of his behavior to addiction. "I burned a lot of bridges," he admitted in a 2016 Rolling Stone interview. "Some have been rebuilt, others probably never will." The Megadeth-Slayer feud highlights more than just clashing egos. It reflects the volatile pressures of the 1980s metal scene, where young musicians were suddenly thrust into fame and influence. Araya remained grounded throughout Slayer's career, even continuing work as a respiratory therapist, while Mustaine's story became one of redemption. In 2019, when Slayer retired, rumors swirled about a final collaboration with Megadeth, but it never materialized, though a brief and reportedly cordial private conversation between Araya and Mustaine hinted at closure. Today, both artists are legends. Slayer ended their near four-decade run in 2019, and Megadeth continues to tour under Mustaine's leadership, despite health challenges like his 2019 throat cancer battle. For fans, their feud is now part of metal folklore, a reminder of how personal conflict can shape musical legacies, and how time can soften even the deepest rift. As both men move through their 60s, the fire of youth has given way to reflection. The broken guitars, cancelled tours, and awkward encounters have all become threads in the larger narrative of thrash metal. As Araya put it in 2020, we made different choices, took different paths, but we were both there at the beginning of something important that connects us, whether we like it or not. That shared legacy, forged in sound and tested by struggle, remains their most enduring collaboration.